In the heart of Gloucester, England, behind the walls of an ordinary house, a nightmare unfolded that would haunt a nation. Fred and Rose West, a seemingly unremarkable couple, hid a secret so monstrous it defies comprehension. For 2 decades, they tortured, raped, and murdered at least 12 young women and girls, some strangers, some their own children. Their home, 25 Cromwell Street, became known as the House of Horrors, a place where innocence was stolen and lives were erased. This is their story, brought to chilling life in Netflix's 2025 docuseries. This is Fred and Rose West, Netflix's chilling British horror story. Before we begin, a warning. This story contains graphic details of sexual violence, torture, and murder, including against children, that may be deeply distressing. Please take care while listening. If you're ready, let's step into the darkness of one of Britain's most horrific crimes. Gloucester, England in the late 1960s was a quiet, working-class city. Families lived in terraced houses, neighbors knew each other, and life moved at a steady pace. At 25 Cromwell Street, Fred and Rose West appeared to be just another couple raising a large family. Fred, a builder with a thick Gloucestershire accent, was often seen tinkering in the garden. Rose, his younger wife, was a homemaker, tending to their 10 children and renting rooms to lodgers. To outsiders, they were ordinary, even loving. But behind closed doors, their home was a chamber of horrors. Fred and Rose West's story begins in 1969, when Fred, a 27-year-old handyman, met 15-year-old Rosemary Letts at a bus stop in Cheltenham. Fred, already a father of 2 from his first marriage to Catherine Rena Costello, was drawn to Rose's youth and vulnerability. Rose, raised in a troubled home with an abusive father, was flattered by Fred's attention. Within months, she was pregnant with their first child, Heather, born in 1970. Their relationship moved fast, too fast, and soon, Rose moved in with Fred and his daughters, Charmaine and Anne-Marie. What no one knew was that Fred and Rose shared a twisted bond, one rooted in sexual sadomasochism and a hunger for control. Their marriage, as Fred later chillingly described in police tapes, was a partnership where 2 people acted as one. Fred boasted, "I trained Rose to do what I wanted. That's why our marriage worked so well." Those words, revealed in Netflix's docuseries, send a shiver down the spine, hinting at the depravity that would unfold over the next 2 decades. Fred West's dark impulses began long before he met Rose. In 1967, while still married to Rena, he hired 18-year-old Anne McFall as a nanny for his daughters. Anne, pregnant with Fred's child, vanished that summer. Her body was later found buried in a field, dismembered. Fred was never charged, but the pattern was set. When Rose entered his life, she didn't curb his violence. She amplified it. In 1971, while Fred was briefly in prison for theft, Rose was left alone with her stepdaughters, Charmaine and Anne-Marie, and her own infant, Heather. Charmaine, just 8 years old, was Fred's daughter from his first marriage to Rena. During Fred's absence, Charmaine vanished. Rose later claimed she'd run off, but the truth was far darker. Charmaine's body was found years later, encased in concrete under the West's former home on Midland Road. Rose had murdered her, an act that reportedly excited Fred when he learned of it upon his release. Charmaine's death marked a turning point. Rose wasn't just complicit, she was a willing partner in murder. By 1972, Fred and Rose were married and had moved to 25 Cromwell Street, a larger house to accommodate their growing family and lodgers. But the house wasn't just a home, it was a trap, carefully designed to lure vulnerable young women, runaways, hitchhikers, and nannies into their clutches. Fred, a skilled carpenter, modified the house to suit their depravity. He created a basement sex dungeon with soundproof walls and secret voids for filming their crimes. Rose, now engaging in sex work at Fred's urging, entertained clients in the house while Fred watched through spy holes. Their twisted fantasies escalated, and soon, they began targeting young women for far worse than exploitation. Between 1973 and 1987, Fred and Rose West tortured, raped, and murdered at least 10 more women and girls. Their victims included Linda Gough, Carol Ann Cooper, Lucy Partington, Therese Siegenthaler, Shirley Hubbard, Juanita Mott, Shirley Ann Robinson, Allison Chambers, and their own daughter, Heather. Many were vulnerable, runaways or young women with no guardians, making it easier for the West to evade suspicion. The Wests had a chilling routine. Rose's presence in the car made victims feel safe, as a neighbor later recalled in the Netflix series. Having a woman in the passenger seat made it easier to lure them in. Once inside the house, Victims were subjected to unimaginable horrors, bound, tortured, and sexually assaulted, often for days. Their bodies were dismembered and buried in the cellar or under the patio, hidden beneath the West's everyday life. One survivor, Caroline Owens, a 17-year-old nanny hired in 1972, escaped their clutches. She told police how Fred and Rose kidnapped and assaulted her, threatening to kill her. The Wests were convicted of abduction and assault in 1973, but shockingly, they received only fines and probation. The system failed Caroline and countless others who would follow. If authorities had acted decisively, how many lives could have been saved? The Wests' own children weren't spared. Anne-Marie, Fred's daughter from his first marriage, and May, one of Fred and Rose's daughters, later described horrific sexual abuse. Heather, their eldest daughter, was murdered in 1987 at age 16 after confiding in friends about the abuse. Her death would eventually unravel the West's reign of terror, but not before years of suffering for those trapped in their home. In 1992, a glimmer of hope pierced the darkness. An anonymous tip about the sexual abuse of one of the West's daughters prompted social services to investigate. During interviews, the West's children made a chilling joke. If they misbehaved, they'd end up under the patio, like their sister Heather, who hadn't been seen since 1987. The comment, overheard by social workers, sparked suspicion. Was it really a joke, or something far worse? In February 1994, police obtained a search warrant for 25 Cromwell Street. They questioned Fred about Heather's disappearance, and he initially denied everything. But as digging began in the garden, Fred's facade crumbled. On February 25th, he confessed to Heather's murder, leading police to her remains under the patio. The discovery was just the beginning. Over the next weeks, 9 more sets of bones were unearthed in the cellar and garden, each telling a story of unimaginable cruelty. Netflix's docuseries brings this moment to life with previously unseen police footage. We see Fred, handcuffed, guiding officers through his garden, grunting, "There was a bone in there last time," as he points to burial sites. His matter-of-fact tone, captured in over 50 hours of interrogation tapes, is chilling. Detective Constable Russ Williams told Radio Times, "Fred and Rose were comfortable disposing of bodies where they lived. How could anyone be so detached from such horror?" At first, Fred insisted Rose was innocent, taking full blame for the murders. He told his son Stephen, "Look after Mum and sell the house. I've done something really bad." But police weren't convinced. The discovery of Charmaine's body, killed while Fred was in prison, pointed directly to Rose. As evidence mounted, Fred began revealing Rose's involvement, admitting they cruised together to find victims. Rose, however, denied everything, maintaining her innocence to this day. The second episode of Netflix series, titled Rose, focuses on the police's efforts to tie her to the killings. A neighbor recalled Rose confessing to joining Fred in luring women, and Caroline Owens' testimony confirmed Rose's active role in assaults. Forensic psychologist Paul Britton, featured in the documentary, noted, "It was clear Fred had adapted the house to his sexual pleasure. But Rose was no bystander. She was a partner in every sense. Rose's role shattered the myth that she was merely a manipulated wife. She was just as evil as Fred, if not more so." Their daughter May later said, "Once Rose started hitting us, she found it hard to stop." The West's children, raised in a vacuum of fear, described a home where no one was safe. Not from Fred's abuse, not from Rose's rage. Fred West never faced trial. On January 1st, 1995, he died by suicide in his cell at Winson Green Prison, asphyxiating himself at age 53. Rose, however, stood trial in October 1995. Over 7 weeks, prosecutors presented a mountain of evidence: police tapes, survivor testimonies, and the remains of 10 victims. On November 22nd, Rose was convicted of 10 murders and sentenced to life without parole. She's currently at HM Prison New Hall, where she reportedly spends her days cross-stitching and playing board games, still denying her crimes. Netflix's series gives voice to the victims' families, many speaking for the first time. Desra Chambers, whose sister Allison was killed, said, "This is for Allison, but also for me, so I can have closure." Belinda Mott, sister of victim Juanita Mott, visits her grave, saying, "I always say I love you, because you never know when it's the last time." Their words, raw and heartbreaking, remind us of the human cost behind the headlines. In October 1996, 25 Cromwell Street was demolished, its debris destroyed to prevent it becoming a morbid attraction. Today the site is an alleyway, but the scars remain. The West's case exposed failures in the system. Missed chances to stop Fred's early crimes, inadequate oversight of their children, and a society that didn't see the horror hiding in plain sight. It's a story that lingers, as one reviewer put it. Grim, what an awful pair of bastards. Fred and Rose West's crimes are a stark reminder of the evil that can hide behind a normal facade. Their victims, Anne, Charmaine, Heather, and so many others, deserved lives full of love, not pain. Thank you for watching Fred and Rose West, Netflix's chilling British horror story. If this story gripped you, please like, comment, and subscribe for more true crime documentaries. In the comments, share your thoughts. What shocked you most about the Wests? What cases should we cover next? Until then, stay safe and never stop seeking justice.